It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
Hey guys, how is it going? And welcome to the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. It is Friday, January 26th, and so happy for you joining us. We are ready to start another day together with the Lord. So subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So today we have an exciting podcast for you. We have Until the End with Daniel Baker, the Wednesday message word study, and of course commentaries, updates, and news on what is happening around the world in this history today. All right, everyone, how are you doing? Yes, it is Friday. We've reached the end of the week. I am so happy and grateful the weekend has come. It has been a very, I'm not going to say stressful, but it's been a very like energy consuming week for me. So I am very, very happy that the weekend is here. I can't wait to start taking my break. I'm going to be playing some volleyball tonight. I have an actual game, so I will let you know how we did in this game too. Don't forget, every Thursday we have a question and answer. So get those questions ready. Send them to me whenever you can or however you can. I have people DMing me. I have people who are sending me emails, people putting in the comment sections on my Instagram, wherever it is, just send it to me. I'll be super grateful and thankful for these questions too. And if you haven't yet, today's podcast, yes, I believe it is 1009. I believe, right? It's already, we're already getting to the 10th episode. Well, 1009, right? So, for this episode, please leave a like and comment to build our community. Just super happy for everyone joining us every weekday on the Morning Star Drive. So let's get up and support each other each and every day. This week's Sunday message title, there were two of them. He answers through your heart, and the promises of the old time period are fulfilled through the new time period. Whew, yes, it's been a good week, guys. I'm very, very grateful and thankful. This is the fourth week of 2024, just, ending it. We just have a couple of days left in January, which is quite shocking to me. I hope you guys are really, really enjoying your time, your whatever you're doing this week, whatever country you're in. I hope, and I heard some people are still giving glory to God too, so that's a great thing, and I think something that God would probably be really inspired and moved by too. I am, it's a few days before the end of the month, and, I want to spend my month really well before we get into February. For me, today, this Thursday for me that I'm recording this, it's actually a holiday here in Malaysia. It's a holiday, it's some Indian holiday, I forgot what it was called, but one thing you guys gotta know about Malaysia is, Malaysia has three major groups of people. There's the Malays, which is the majority, 80-something%. Then you have the Chinese and the Indians. And they celebrate every holiday for all three of these cultures. So sometimes you have a holiday every 2 weeks. It's pretty crazy sometimes. I forget what it was. It might have been in May, June, but it almost felt like there was a holiday every single week. But it's kind of chill, and I enjoy it. People get their day off work, and I get to hang out with members and stuff like that too. This week for me was, I'm gonna open up a little bit here. This week was kind of a weird week for me. It really was, right? Remember, because of the Monday podcast, and I'll just tell you the genesis of the Monday podcast came out, and then there's a ton of feedback and this and that, and it made me really start to reflect on myself and my reaction to it. And, it kind of made me doubt myself too. And I'll tell you where it made me doubt myself. It made me doubt myself is my message not clear enough? That's what I really thought. I was like, wow, is it really not that clear? And I had to kind of double, triple, quadruple check myself, right? And I started to think about myself wait a second. I was a bit when I looked back at what was happening in my mind this week when it came to me recording these podcasts, I thought to myself, I was wow, you know what? I'm really not acting like myself. Not my words, but my feelings inside, right? It was really weird because I felt like I had to explain myself to everyone. Have you guys ever had that before? You just feel whoa, maybe you lose that confidence a bit, oh, maybe I have to explain, maybe, and I realized when it came down to, now, I've been talking about this for 4 days. Well, not I've been talking about it, but it's been 4 days. I've been explaining myself. It was just a bunch of different things. But I realized that I didn't need to, right? And, I thought to myself man, can you imagine if people had to do that for every single point, right? Then this conversation would go on for ages, but we're under a platform where it's a podcast where there is going to be some misunderstanding here and there, and there is going to be some, explanation here and there too. But, I have to say that while I was thinking, I kind of got myself into that zone where I feel like I have to appease everyone. I'm not sure, does that come to you guys too? And here's the funny part. The funny part is while I was thinking these thoughts, right? And I'm sure some of you started to feel it too, because I got the comments that were like, oh, okay, these guys get it, right? So I started, these were golden comments. Ray, I think Ray's over there in Germany or Austria. No, Germany, I think, right? Ray's kind of straight up. His comment was, I think ratio-wise, the vast majority understand your statement talking about the path of the vast majority. I thought it was hilarious the way he put it. Right? Because, I kept saying stuff like ratio-wise, vast majority, and he's straight up like, I think ratio-wise, the vast majority understand your statement talking about the path of the vast majority. So when I looked at that, I thought it was hilarious. And I just laughed because I was in that mindset, and then I read the comment, I was like, oh my gosh, it kind of spelled out everything that was in my mind, and it gave me some peace. Right? It's like I was, in my head, I was like, does anyone get what I'm saying kind of thing? Did I really say it like that? And, I was, the whole week, I'm like, I'm talking generally, guys. I'm talking about the vast majority. Am I not clear enough here? In my head, I'm like, am I not being clear enough? But it's just good to hear that, in the comments, someone's saying, no, we got it, bro. We totally got it. Don't worry about it. We understand what you're saying. So I was like, oh, okay, got it. But then, this is even funnier in my head. I was like, but this is just, no, I'm not going to say this in a bad way. I'm just saying that this is just Ray, right? Meaning it's only one person. Is he really speaking on behalf of the majority? Are there any other people, or is it just him or other people? And I think the funniest comment was Karen. Karen was responding to someone else's comment, and Karen over there in Canada, basically her message was, you're clear. We understand. Now move on. You don't need to talk about this on Thursday. And I was howling after that point, right? Because it's almost like a conversation between just like a conversation between me and myself, but it was every comment that came out was just blasting me you stupid, just move on with it kind of thing. So so when I start to read more and more of these comments, it's oh, okay, so people do understand, right? They got it, right? And that's why I'm thankful that we have the comment section. That's why I'm thankful that people DM me. I'm thankful that people are, having this discussion. I think it's great. It kind of opens up a lot of things. But I also understand is when these topics come up, I can't be dwelling so much on them. It's kind of just bring the points up, talk about it. Someone brings a counterpoint, talk about that, and we kind of move on as we go, right? I don't have to be so what's happening? I don't have to be so conscious about this. I'm not even sure why I was conscious about it, to be honest. I don't know why I was so conscious about it, right? But it just came up. So, there's a bunch of different stuff that came out. Another comment that I really, really liked, it said, I'm so glad you brought up the importance of, this is from Rachel, right? Rachel is second gen over there in Texas. I'm saying her name because in the comments, it says her name. It says Rachel. Most people, if they want to be anonymous, I'm fine with it. But Rachel put in the comments, and her name is on the comment. It's straight up her name, so I can say it. And she's someone I've known since she was born. I've known her mother, I've known her mother even before the mother was married and had children and stuff like that too. So I've known Rachel for a long time. I'm really shocked because I've known her when she was a baby, right? And, I would play with her and stuff like that too whenever I saw her. But, now she's graduated university and stuff, and she's like a real adult. That sounds so weird when I say real adult, but but she wrote this comment, and I thought it was really insightful and very, very deep too. She said, I'm so glad you brought up the importance of fulfilling the purpose of creation on earth physically. We all fulfill it spiritually. Some just happen to get married and some don't. I'm glad you said it because for a long time, I felt there has been a stigma in Providence. Faith stars were seen as higher level while blessed families pushed to the side. It created a hierarchy in this history of God. This is detrimental to both sides. It puts a massive amount of pressure on faith stars to be and act a certain way while also oppressing those who decide to get married. We are all brides of God. We are all equal. Whether married or blessed, we have fulfilled the greatest mission in our lifetime. At this point, the idea of being blessed or faith star is so irrelevant to me. Titles mean nothing. It is how you live your life for God. And I thought that was like one of the most practical, relevant comments, right? I thought it was something that really sees the point. It's kind of a different point of view from another side, which I thought was really, really great. And that last sentence was the closer for me. It's like, titles mean nothing. It's how you live your life for God, right? And I think that is the best and greatest focus we need, right? There was like, yeah, there's a bunch of people that were, there's so much stuff going on, but it's a good kind of wrap-up day for me because, like I'm just telling you guys what was going through my mind this week, and I was like, why am I thinking this way and stuff like that too? Another person wrote to me and said, what also made me think deeply was the point that people in the past wanted to become faith stars because it was a trend. I can understand this, but it made me think deeply. Maybe one of the reasons was that many people in Providence took KJS as a role model and wanted to live like her. Remember, this is just their opinion too, right? But what I realized even more when I reflect on the difficulties in Providence in the last years is that in order to live the life of a true faith star, we should look on Sunstein first. How does he love the Trinity and Jesus and serve them in the daily life? Do we really understand it? Do we realize his mission, the condition of love that he's setting before God and for us? In my opinion, people should realize deeply about how they truly want to follow Jesus spiritually and physically from now and in the future, and that they also consider their strengths and weaknesses, and that they always talk with God and the Holy Spirit and ask heaven about everything. I really hope that in the future there will be no bad incidents again of former faith stars, especially those that falsely accuse Sunstein. What makes me so sad is that Sunstein is now going on the path of suffering again, also because of some former stars who have left Providence, how much it must hurt God and Sunstein when people who they love betray or deny them, right? And I think one of the things that was very clear here, and I thought just to add on it, was the thing that this person wrote was, how is it that we have to live the true life? Whether you're a star or married or single, whatever it is, we should look to the Lord first, right? How does the Lord love the Trinity in Jesus and serve them in their daily life, right? These are all things that I looked at. I was like, yeah, I liked it, right? Very, very good too. So, guys, everyone, I'm letting you know, especially Karen. Karen's like, move on, buddy. Karen's like, we get it. You've rammed it down our throats. Just letting you know, today's kind of like a last wrap-up day for this subject. Of course, there are still people sending me stuff. And I think because this topic is so big, there has to be a separate program to talk about this stuff. There has to be a separate program, right? And I hope it's something that, that we can have like a man cave or a Provipuff or something along that line that we're able to go into this, right? So yeah, this one last thing is, there's actually some good practical questions that came up from this week's discussion. And I think these are important because this means that practical means that there's a lot of people that are thinking about these things, right? So one person said, regarding your comment on marriage, and then there's like these smiling emojis, I wonder if most of the members who DM you are female, right? And then they said, as I also get questions, concerns from members about this, and I think maybe I can give you a view from the girls' perspective. As we know, there are many girls, not many guys in Provi at this moment, and many mature, especially age 35 and above, youth career members that may be facing the problem of wanting to get married, but not enough guys for their age. Yet they are neither a faith star nor a Jubit Nadi. Right? So everyone who knows Jubit Nadi is for the people who decide not to get married. They're not stars, but they decide not to get married and run. They're a little bit older, right? When they become a Jubit Nadi. So they said, not married. These people are not married. They're not a faith star, and they might not be able to get married. So they're kind of just a regular career member. So two questions that come up is, some of these people are wondering, are we still achieving the purpose of creation? And the second question is, What's the difference between a face star, Jubinati, or a normal, ordinary youth or career department person, right? So what's the difference between them, right? Because is there a difference in level of purpose of creation? And it says, I guess those who, if a female career have questions and comments about your view on marriage, have this, they basically have this fundamental question deep in their heart, right? Because they're not any of those departments like Jubinati. They're not face star. They're kind of maybe a career department person that has never, that just can't get married because there's not enough guys. And I think that is, from what I'm talking about, what I talk about is the purpose of creation, right? And the fulfillment of the purpose of creation, right? Spiritually and physically. But what we're talking about here, this question here is a little bit different because it's not about the purpose of creation. It's more about the current situation that's in Providence, the ratio, which is completely different. It's another question, right? So what I talk about is, the principles of the fall, the purpose of creation. It's kind of the basic knowledge that we all know. Ratio is a completely different subject. And what does that mean? It means that regardless of ratio, the concept and understanding of the purpose of creation doesn't change. Right? Ratio is a current issue that we're dealing with. It's a whole other story that we should understand too. And that's something that has, that is kind of out of our control at this moment right now. And I would say that one of the biggest discussions churches and countries need to have is to find a solution in both long and short term. For example, long-term solution is that we need to evangelize more guys, right? And that's what people are really trying to focus on, right? But I call it long-term solution because it's going to take some time. How do I know it's going to take some time? Well, think about it. We've been trying to evangelize guys for the past 4 or 5 years. However, we're not evangelizing many people in general at all, right? Which means what? It means that, evangelism right now is not going very well, right? So that's going to be kind of a more of a long-term solution. But what is a short-term solution? Right? Because that's another thing we have to think about too. How can we remedy and help resolve things in the short term? And this is going to require a ton of discussion with leadership and a ton of discussion with Sunsanim too. Because, it's a very, very important thing for many females and males, right? Is this, is that many are taking that path. They want to take that path. However, they can't because of the ratio itself. Right? So let me first answer these questions, right? The first question is, if they don't become a face star or a Jubinati, or, they don't become any of those, but they're still single in the career department, are they still considered, are they fulfilling the purpose of creation? And that's an absolute yes, right? The purpose of creation is fulfilled not by a title or a specific department, right? Even if you're not a star, even if you're not Jubinati, even if you're not of a blessed family, even if you're whatever it is, everyone fulfills the purpose of creation because the number one thing is fulfilling, becoming the counterpart of love to God. That's the most important one, right? And this is why, think about it. If the most important one was, for instance, marriage, then stars and Jubinati couldn't fulfill the purpose of creation, right? But we know that everyone does because it is the spiritual purpose of creation, which is the most important one. The title of star, the title of Jubinati, it makes no difference of whether someone can fulfill the purpose of creation or not, right? So the title doesn't make you fulfill the purpose of creation. It's about becoming the counterpart of love, right? So anyone, regardless of being whatever title or whatever place you're in, can do it, right? Marriage is the physical purpose of creation, and this is the method in which God will fulfill heaven on earth in this physical realm, okay, which is really, really important too. Now, the second question is about the difference between, I guess they're talking about the difference in level, I'm thinking. That's what I think. What's the difference between a face star, Jubinati, or a normal, ordinary career department member, right? And if we're all, all three of them are fulfilling the purpose of creation, is there a difference in the level of purpose of creation? And the answer is absolutely. Levels, I'm going to tell you in two different ways, right? So there's levels all the time, right? The way that God puts things, like look at heaven. Heaven has levels. Even when you look at the angels, there is the archangel, there is the messenger angel. People are always put into different groups, right? A face star, right? A face star, Jubilati, they're both choosing to forego marriage to live only for this history. And the biggest difference here is going to be like age, when they came, right? A little bit later or earlier, when they became a face star, when they became Jubilati. And I don't even know if that's going to be the full difference either. If someone's out there that can tell me like a more clear difference between the two, yeah, I would, that'd be great. Just post it in the comments below. I'd love to hear that too, right? So what is there going to be a difference in level? And from what we've heard through the messages is yes, generally speaking, there is a spiritual difference of purpose of creation between the three groups, like the stars, Jubilati, and like say a regular member, right? So when I say career member, it means a career member that remains single and not a star or Jubilati or doesn't get married, right? So what we heard so far through the word is we know that from the word that usually the stars will be at the highest level in the spiritual world. Then Jubilati, I'm not sure exactly because Sunsteam doesn't talk extensively about them, but there was a time where Sunsteam extensively talked about the stars. And I'm talking very general too. If all things are ideal, yes, you're going to have these different types of levels. But if we get into the nitty-gritty details, it's kind of the thing that I would say is what Rachel said. Right? It's really about the life that we live in this history. It really is, right? For instance, I'll tell you straight up, there are stars that don't live like stars, and there are some BFs that live greater than a star, right? There are some people who are career members that live better and some people that don't live as well, right? In the end, it does come down to how much you love the Holy Trinity, Jesus, and the one that God sent that determines your level in the spiritual world. And you got to think about it this way. The one thing Sunsteam said is when you go to the Golden City, when you're raptured, it's like you're already at the peak, right? And at the peak, when you're kind of like splitting, the peak is almost like splitting hairs. One thing Sunsteam's like, hey, when God, human beings are so funny to God because human beings are comparing themselves to each other. I'm better than you. I live in this. I have more money. I have this and that, right? But Sunsteam says when God looks down, the way God looks down at the world is like a human being looking down at a bunch of ants. Right? And guess what? In the ant world, some ants are bigger, some ants are smaller. But from God's eyes, they're all pretty much the same. They look kind of the same size. But when you go down to the world of ants, they're like comparing and fighting and jealous and stuff like that. But from God's view, he's kind of laughing at this, right? And in the same way, too, you got to understand is the number one thing that matters is right now, what we are in this history at this moment is we are raptured brides of this history. We will reach the pinnacle of heaven, right? And it's all going to come down to, hey, make sure you love God. Make sure you have that in your heart, that as the highest priority, right? Because whether you're married or not, whether you're a star, Jubilati, whether you're a regular member, whatever it is, it doesn't make, the biggest thing is that all of us can achieve the rapture salvation, which many of us have already done. And all that other stuff becomes fluff, right? If some people will take it as a title, some people take it this and that, but I'm telling you straight right now, it's just about living the life, right? That's going to be the highest and greatest determinant of the difference, of our level in the spiritual world. And, there's no need to compare. Live the life that God has set for you, and that's fine, right? And I'll tell you right now that in the past, because there was such an emphasis on stars, remember I'm a face star, right? So there was such an emphasis on stars in the past. It's kind of what Rachel kind of brought up is it actually puts a lot of pressure on stars too, right? And because it was there was so much talk about stars in the past by Sunsteam, at some point there was even resentment against stars. Because some were not living the proper life. And some people thought it was unfair that they're considered greater or better than another member of another department, but they're not even coming to church. They're not even coming, doing this or that. But I would say, yeah, it's a tough, the life that we're living, the toughest part is actually not living up to a title. The toughest part is actually becoming a true great bride of God. That is the real challenge that we're facing, right? So I'll say generally there are these levels, but when you combine free will, human nature, at the highest level of heaven, it is determined by how you live in this history. right? Let me give you an example. Peter was the prime disciple of Jesus and he was married. Paul was not married, but did not live with Jesus when Jesus was living. And people can argue and discuss about who is higher, which I think is kind of futile. I think that doesn't matter. The reality is, it doesn't matter. What really matters is living the true life of a bride of this history with God as the ultimate goal, being that person that is so deeply in love with God. This becomes the most important thing, right? So those two questions I think are very, very important practical questions, because some people are going to be thinking this, especially because of the situation with the ratio. And my advice to those people who are, kind of the women that are a little bit older in that situation, I would say it would require very deep conversation and real, practical, realistic discussion with your leaders, with your HQ, and eventually reaching the sunseam so that there could be a short-term solution. Of course, I have some thoughts in my mind, but that's something that I would rather discuss with like the leaders and stuff like that too, because it's like, I think eventually we're going to have to go to a certain solution that may not be ideal, but it's the best for what we have in this situation. And what I know about God is God sees the situation and God will understand, because the situation is special. It is extraordinary, right? It's not normal, the situation that we're in right now with the ratio. So I do think it's something that leaders and such have to discuss. It cannot just be so simple as in, I don't think it's so simple as in you can just say to someone, well, not enough guys, so you got to live alone for the rest of your life. Sorry. Like, I don't think that's the real solution. And I think that's not thinking deep enough or properly enough about the full situation that's going on right now. And I think it's going to be much deeper. Someone might say, well, what are you really talking about, Sky? And that's something I do want to talk about in a future podcast, but not today, right? I don't want to rile up people again. But big thanks and shout out to everyone out there who's been responding, giving feedback, sending in text messages, sending in audios, sending in DMing me. I think that just proves that this community is doing well and powerful. So very, very grateful and thankful for this too. Just want to let you guys know that today, until the end, Daniel Baker, from now on, he's doing videos. So yeah, he is really pushing me to reach the next level. I just got to get my setup done, and I got to do it quicker than I am now. He's already doing it. Eddie's doing these video podcasts. So already, I know for sure on Mondays and Fridays, we're not going to have any SoundCloud because I'm just not doing that editing yet with the videos and the audios itself. So yeah. Today is not on SoundCloud, so I'm telling the SoundCloud people to move over to YouTube because there's a video for today's podcast. Okay, and I had this funny thing. Chris Jansen called me. He's like going, "Yeah, I was watching I was listening to the podcast on YouTube, and then of course, there's like commercials that come out, right? There's like these ads that come out, and he's like straight up going, yeah, there were some of these commercials that were really sketchy, and I'm like going." I don't control the ad. He's like, yeah, it's about he's like going, yeah, there's like some stuff about men, the commercials about men's problems and stuff. I'm like, I'm sorry, but I don't have any control of the advertising that is given out. Right? So I was just like, I'm sorry, bro. Maybe it's God giving you a sign. Either way. So before we get into today's Wednesday Message Word Study, let's get into the first break of the day.
Praying today, I pray unceasingly again. Lord, I am here praying today, I pray unceasingly again. I'll engrave only your word into my mind, I'll keep it there. I'll engrave only your word into my mind, I'll keep it there. Lord, I'm here praying today, I pray unceasingly again. engrave only your word into my mind, I'll keep it there. I will engrave only your word into my mind, I'll keep it there. I will kick all of those Satans away, forces of darkness that steal of my strength and my energy. Casting them off, I will run this history brilliantly. The Satans who hide themselves inside my heart, I will destroy them all. Those Satans who cause so many trials, for God's history of providence. So yesterday, now and forever, I swear I'll eradicate them from my life. Today's supreme, my mission has been accomplished. Lord, I'm here praying today, I pray unceasingly again. Lord, I'm here praying today, I pray unceasingly again. I will engrave only your word into my mind, I'll keep it there. I will engrave only your word into my mind, I'll keep it there. I will kick all of those Satans away, forces of darkness that steal of my strength and my energy. Casting them off, I will run this history brilliantly. The Satans who hide themselves inside my heart, I will destroy them all. Those Satans who cause so many trials, for God's history of providence. So yesterday, now and forever, I swear I'll eradicate them from my life. Today's supreme, my mission has been accomplished. Satans in my heart, destroy them. Satans in providence, destroy them. Satans in my life, destroy them. No matter what, complete this mission. Satans in my heart, destroy them. Satans in providence, destroy them. Satans in my life, destroy them. No matter what, complete this mission. The Satans who hide themselves inside my heart, I will destroy them all. The Satans who cause so many trials, for God's history of providence. So yesterday, now and forever, I swear I'll eradicate them from my life. Today's supreme, my mission has been accomplished. The Satans who hide themselves inside my heart, I will destroy them all. Those Satans who cause so many trials, for God's history of providence. So yesterday, now and forever, I swear I'll eradicate them from my life. Today's supreme, my mission has been accomplished. Today's supreme, my mission has been accomplished. Today's supreme, my mission has been accomplished.
All right, so let's get into today's word study. And of course, every single Friday we have the Wednesday message word study. And it was a different title for the Wednesday messages: Discern and Do What Is Beneficial. Very, very interesting title. And we had about 40 proverbs that we went over. And I think it was a really, really good message. It made me think really deeply about certain parts. So let's go over the Wednesday message word study. Okay, so it started off with the revelation before getting into the Proverbs itself. And it was something said to God, "You are almighty and all-knowing, yet, how can you be satisfied or live satisfied with such weak and fragile human beings? I just can't understand this." And the scene was super interesting because what Sunsim saw was he threw an object from a distance and he wanted to throw it into a bin. And when he got it in, he was happy, right? And God's response was, "It can be done. It can be done." After showing him that scene of him throwing something into a bin a distance away, God is like, "It can be done." And like for me, I was thinking to myself, I was like, "Oh, that's quite interesting because, when you're throwing something into a bin, you're like kind of excited, like, oh man, I wonder if I can hit it. I wonder if I can get it in, right? And what God is telling something is, yeah, no, it's possible. Yeah, it can be done, right? And God was saying, just because someone is God's counterpart doesn't mean that they have to be at the same level for it to be done, right? Even if love is small, satisfaction, if connected through love, right? You'll get satisfied if it's connected through love, right? And when I thought about that, it's so true. Because even like I, as a guy, when I'm sitting there throwing something far away like a challenge and I get it in, I'm excited. I'm like, yes, I got it. Like, have you seen those like YouTube videos where people are doing like these like incredible feats of throwing things from far distances and they get it in the hoop or something along that line, and the excitement is just ridiculous, right? And the lighter the challenge, the less happy they are, but they're still happy. They're still satisfied from it. Right? And that point that I really thought was great is, just because, love or that satisfaction doesn't mean two of you have to be at the same level. And that is something that is very comforting too. And it's something that's really true in our lives also. If you think about when people have children, the children are definitely not at the same level as the parents. But the little things that the children do make the parents so happy. Like just saying like mama, dada, like even that, the parents are freaking out. Like, oh my gosh, he said my name, oh my goodness, right? And they're freaking like, they're so happy because of it, right? And that really makes me, that really made me think like, yeah, that is so true. It's something that we really need to get ourselves to understand at that level. Right? So I was thinking like, when it comes to love, how powerful is love? Love is so powerful that even if someone is so much lower than the other person, you can still satisfy them in love. If I were to take a more extreme example, look at human beings and pets. The level between a dog or cat and a human being is so far apart, right? It's so far apart. They can't even talk, right? They can't even like really have good, like detailed communication. Yet human beings can love their pets that much, spend that much money on taking care of their pets, right? And the level between a human and a pet is so far beyond, right? But they can still feel satisfied in love. Yeah, I've seen people who are satisfied with having a dog or a cat. I don't understand it, right? I personally don't understand it. But I can see how it's true. This holds true that when there's counterparts of love, you don't need to be at the same level. So let's get into some Proverbs, right? This first one was very interesting. Even if the almighty and all-knowing God come to you dozens of times, it's worth nothing if it does not benefit you. That is interesting. Because when you really think about it, a lot of times we just want to be next to God. Oh, God, be next to me. Oh, God, just come here. God, do this. God, do. If there's no benefit, it's worth nothing, right? And we have to really think about, our time being with God, right? Like, why do I want to be next to God? Am I going to be next to God just for the sake of being next to him, just to say there's a powerful person next to me? Or say, God, I need your comfort at this moment. God, I really love you and I want to talk to you about something. There's got to be some type of benefit in it, but if there is no benefit, it's worth nothing. And I thought to myself and this is probably why sometimes, even though people are with God every day and God says to us, I am with you, I am next to you, I will be with you wherever you want. If there is no benefit, if the person sees no benefit or there's no benefit that comes to that person, how are they going to feel? They're going to feel that there's no benefit why God is here. Do you know what I mean? And it kind of answered one of the questions, how God can be with people, yet people will find it worth nothing. And it's because they don't see the benefit in it. Look at all the people in the world right now that don't believe in God. They're like, well, if God is really here, then how come this happens? How come this happens? There's no benefit. Actually, there's a detriment, right? So I found that to be quite interesting, like answering some questions that were in my mind too, right? Sometimes God comes to do what he needs to do. He'll come but he'll do what he needs to do even if it doesn't help you, right? Which means that, God is coming at all times. It's not all coming just for our benefit, right? Sometimes to help, sometimes to work and do his own things, right? But what we need to do is what? I like this several different points that came later is like the point was you need to make the right conditions for God to work with you, right? You need the right conditions. And one of the right conditions is receiving salvation, right? Because those that receive salvation, the Holy Trinity comes to watch over us, protect us so that we can live well, right? So there's one of the conditions. One of the conditions is receiving salvation. Another condition is ask, seek, and love, right? Don't, ask them, seek them, love them, and then they're always going to be with us at all times. That's another condition that makes it right for God to come to us, right? So if we want to be those that get to that level, the proverb says, this is why the person of, why God sends a person, right? God sends someone to the time period so that these people can become counterparts and receive him. Only the people who receive the complete Testament history can live together as brides. To have God next to you as a bridegroom requires us to believe in the one that he sent so that we can receive him as a counterpart of love, as a bride, right? And we have to be those, like when you look at it, Jesus is coming a second time, and your relationship is dependent upon whether you receive the first coming or the second coming. Like that becomes the key part. And even if you do receive the second coming, if you eventually just become strangers with God again, what happens? You have two options. You either return to the old time period or you go to the domain of death. And that's something that's very interesting because one thing that Sunseem does say in the past, he said is like, yeah, and I think this generally holds true, that you can't just, leave the new time period and just expect to go back to the old time period, right? That doesn't happen. God won't accept you, right? Because you've basically rejected the one that he sent. So it's not like you can come to Jesus and then think that everything is, like, oh, I believe in Jesus. And then you believe in the second coming and say, well, nope, I don't believe the second coming exists anymore. So, or that you don't believe it's true. Like that rejection in itself is like the domain of death. That rejection. You can't just go to back to the old time period. So when I was thinking about this is if you make yourself a stranger and you kind of slide back too much, the two options is return to the old time period or you go to hell, which means that it looks like what Sunseem said in the past about you cannot return to the old time period is probably if there is an absolute like rejection. You know what I mean? Like you reject the one that God sent. You say you don't believe in him anymore. You say that he is wrong or he's not the one that God sent. I think because that is rejecting, that's the difference between domain of life and domain of death, right? But if it's someone who's just kind of losing their faith, they become strangers, I can see that more being someone that returns to the old time period. They haven't rejected or denied and stuff like that too. They just lost their faith kind of thing. That's what I was kind of thinking when I heard this part, right? And, there were some parts that talking about people who leave the time period and, some of them will never be able to come out again. They won't be able to come out from death. So we have to receive according to, everyone's going to receive according to what we've done. One of probably the most powerful proverb was the shortest one. Do you remember what the shortest proverb was? I thought it was really powerful. It was, you cannot save yourself. That in itself is so powerful because it shows the need for God. Like how much you need God. You can't save yourself. Without God, you are dead, right? You cannot save yourself. It kind of like, it's so powerful that a lot of people think that, oh, I can do it on my own without God. But in the end, it's like, no, you can't save yourself, right? The people who think that they're doing, that they're the ones who are doing amazing things in this, no, you can't save yourself, right? And when I saw that, I was like, yeah, that was probably one of the deepest, like, I was like, wow, you cannot save yourself. It talks about two things, a need for God and how much you're delusional if you think you can save yourself, right? So then the Proverbs move to a different type of theme, and I liked it. It was like, you must work harder on your love, right? And, work harder on your love, work harder, work for this time period, then you'll shine more, right? And I like that, like it's work harder on your love. A lot of times when we think about the words work harder, be diligent, we're thinking about, oh, pray more, oh, evangelize more, go lecture, go do this and go do that. But when you hear the message saying work harder on your love, that is a very intentional, like, it's more about your heart. It's more about doing things not because I'm supposed to pray, I'm supposed to get up for pre-dawn, but it's about, man, if I'm going to work harder on my love, I'm going to get up and I really need to pray a prayer of love from my heart, right? Because if you're just being diligent, being diligent just means you're like, oh yeah, I got up every day. But it doesn't mean that you worked harder on your love. You just got up every day. Oh, I go to church every Sunday. But working hard on your love is like, when I heard the message, I really prayed. It's like, God, what does this mean? I wrote my notes down just to figure out what this was really, what this was trying to say to me here, right? So I really like the one that says work harder on your love. Work harder on your love for God, right? And it's not just work hard, be diligent, run around, don't stop, sleep less, or like that type of thing. But it was very intentional, as in, this is what I want you to work on. You got to work harder on your love. And I really, really enjoyed that part too, right? I like that part of the Proverbs. I think this one can be a theme I can put on a t-shirt. Do nothing, gain nothing, worth nothing. That's what I wrote. Do nothing, gain nothing, worth nothing, right? And that's like self-explanatory. It's like, do nothing, gain nothing, worth nothing, right? And I think that's something that, we have to, it's like that proverb before is work on that love, act on that love, right? If we want our spirit to shine, our spirit is fueled by love, right? And then our spirit is going to shine endlessly, right? So I like that. It's like work hard on your love, right? And what does it mean to work hard on your love? If you don't work on your love, if you do nothing about your love, you gain nothing in love, and your love is worth nothing if you do nothing for that love, right? So I really, really liked that portion too. Yeah, there's 40 parts. They're really, really deep ones. Well, there's some of them that really, like, I was like, yeah, like that's really, really good. People waiting in the old time period cannot know the life lived by those who came to the history of love carried out by the Holy Trinity, right? The only ones who are going to know are the ones that are in that time period, right? And I think that's kind of what I talked about the other day is like, a lot of times we're going to be presented with opportunity, and if we don't take the opportunity, life goes on, but we have no idea what we've missed out on. And that's why people will have no regret. They'll think that, life just goes on, and they think that, life can't be better than what they're doing. And they made their choices and they move on, but they have no idea. Let's just pretend you made a decision that you lost you could have made $10 million, but you didn't do it, right? So I hope it's something that, we understand is, people have been waiting, but they'll never know until they actually come to this history. We are the ones that know. But the problem with us at times is we don't value it, or we lose the fire and the faith, right? And this is the one that kind of is really good too. It says, this history is not hope. And you're kind of like, what? Wait, what do you mean it's not hope? And then Sanjeev says, it is reality. Like, that's powerful, right? This history is not hope. We're like, what? But we all want hope. Hope is about the future that you haven't received yet. But, the message is straight up, no, it is reality. We have received and we are living it, right? We are living it. And the next sentence kind of didn't make sense to me. It's like, comfort each other. Like, what? Wait. You just told us it's not hope, it's reality. Wow, this is powerful. But comfort each other. realize tribulations of the world, right? So I'm just like, oh, all right. So the thing that came to my mind is, like, when we think about hope, we're very excited about the future, right? But he's like, no. That hope is being fulfilled right now. It is reality. We're living in it. However, there are tribulations in this world that are coming against us. We have to realize these tribulations, what is actually happening, and comfort each other. Why? Just because we're in the reality of receiving and living, yes, our spirits, because we're raptured, our spirits are in the golden city of heaven. However, our bodies are still here. And people are still dying. There's a war, spiritual war going on right now. And look at 2023. We see many of our brothers and sisters who have left, who have died in that battle. And what we need to do is realize we are in it right now, right? One of the things that you'll hear from, like, I watch YouTube videos of people who were in wars, like World War II veterans and stuff like that too. And they say that it was all worth it, even though it was one of the most terrible times. And after all was said and done, and after the war was done, yes, they still had PTSD, but they look at the world and they realized we are now living in the reality of not being, of not in that war and not having these countries coming to take over other countries like this, right? And, we have to be those that during the times where there's a war going on, we comfort each other, but we know that we're doing it for the great reason. We are fighting for, like these Vietnam and World War II vets are talking about, yeah, it was worth it. It was for my children. It was for freedom of our country, right? And they thought of those things and it was worth it to them. And the same with us too. We got to comfort each other. Realize the tribulations that are happening in this world, right? See the people who have left, the dead deeds of those who have left, what they are doing to us right now. And we have to look at those things and we have to start achieving an even more perfect love with God, right? That's what we need to do. We have to constantly raise the level, bring ourselves to that point where, like, yes, that's what we're supposed to do, right? So I hope that all of us too, just like the Proverbs are saying, we got to be diligent in working harder on your love for God, your love for people around you. This is when we become happier. This is when our love is fulfilled even more. This is actually a proverb. Take action diligently, being part of the new time period. Only then you become more happier, and only then your love will be fulfilled even more. That's an actual proverb, right? Happiness is not something that is just thrown at you. It is something that is earned. It's something that you have to make, something you have to develop. And it happens when you are in love, right? It's about the love that has to be fulfilled. So take action diligently, right? Fulfilling the will of God, which will make us happier. Fulfilling the will of love, right? And this is when love is fulfilled even more and we shine even brighter, right? This proverb here was the one that was like, amen. And God's like, my concern is that you are weak. I was like, oh God, let me repent, right? He's like, the biggest concern God had is that we're weak. Some are diligent. Some are, shining in body and spirit. And then you have others that are weak, that are like, swayed side to side by the situations that are happening all around us, from your friends, your family, the slanderers, from your country, whatever it is. And then people are so, are weak that now they're claiming to do things for providence, but actually they're bringing harm. And be careful of such people, right? We have to be those that we have to continually check ourselves and make ourselves, right? Think about how many times Sunsteam or God or the messages keep telling us, hey, stop doing that, but people still do it. Holy Spirit's telling them multiple times through the word, in the word, right? But it is Satan that dominates them, and it's Satan that is controlling them, and the only thing left is to make yourself clean, right? Only those that do perfectly belong to God. Right? Don't take someone else as your head. Because the moment you take someone else as your head, death swallows you up. Right? And this is what we need to do. Be either hot or cold. Whose side are you on? Right? So, if we don't perfect ourselves or make ourselves. Remember, guys, we do know that the definition of perfection is much different than the world. Perfection for our level. When we are not perfect, the Holy Spirit begins to worry. Why does the Holy Spirit worry? Because when we're not perfect, we start moving towards death, right? Death is reigning in those that are not perfect, and the sin comes in, and we have to repent and make ourselves perfect. And I think one of the cool things about being in this history and the understanding of God's love is part of perfection is repentance, which means that, yeah, we're not going to be perfect in every single thing that we do, but the one thing that's going to make us perfect is repentance itself, right? This proverb was good. Don't judge according to tribulation, suffering, or persecution that you're going through, right? Don't judge and say, oh, this must not be the history because we're going through tribulation, suffering, or persecution. And the answer is no way. You can't look at it that way, right? There's no way you should look at it that way. Why? Right? Because if that's the case, then you wouldn't believe in Jesus. Think about what Jesus went through. What Jesus, like he went to the cross. If you think in this way of, I'm going to judge according to tribulation, suffering, or persecution that I'm going through, so this must be the wrong history, then you would have never stood by Jesus when he was dying on the cross. You would have said that he was bad and wrong too. We need to realize what God is doing through the man of mission of this time period. That's what we need to realize. Through the word, we realize this history. Through the word, we realize this time period. And that's one thing sometimes people forget is we start to think to ourselves, oh no, could this be true? But what if this happened? What if Sunstein really did this or that? But the key thing that we learn first is the word. And because of the word that is so deep that answers all of our questions, we understand we're in the time period. And from this point on, we have to realize that if we realize a time period and we know that it's true, persecution's gonna happen. Just as Jesus said in Matthew 24, hey, in Matthew 24, he said, it's all gonna come. People are gonna persecute you. People are gonna say bad things against you. If they persecuted me, they're gonna persecute you. It's part of being in the true history, right? It's part of it. And that's why persecution and slander should make you stronger in faith, not weaker. This one part here that I thought was really very deep was one of the proverbs says Jesus wasn't able to give much good word. And I'm like going, what are you talking about? The word was awesome that Jesus preached. It's last for 2,000 years. But then it made sense when the proverb says he had to give the word that pertained to the people of that time. To the Pharisees, to the Sadducees, to the religious leaders who found faults, who were living a superficial life. He had to give the words that was for them, right? So what we see here is when the word is preached according to the situation of that time period. And if that time period is wicked and bad, then the man of mission can only speak about those things. There was no choice for Jesus because he had to save them. Which means we need to pay attention to what's being preached right now. Are we living the proper life? Right? Because if we do it properly, then what happens? If we do it properly, then the good words will come out. You know what I mean? When are people filled with even more joy? The end of that proverb is only when the word pertaining to this time period is given and filled, is given to us, we'll be filled with even more joy. Right? That's something that it's really, really interesting. It really is. So when I looked at that, I was like, yeah, that's so true. Like if we want the words pertaining to this time period, the great, powerful words, we got to do better, right? And of course, but later on, Sunstein also says to us, he's like, guess what? I didn't have 3 years. I've given you everything, right? That's what Sunstein said. He gave everything, right? So Jesus said, Jesus only had 3 years in person. Sunstein said, I delivered all the secret word hidden and, right? I've delivered all of it, all the secret word, right? I've done it. There's so much good word to be delivered. However, if we are influenced from others or fight amongst brothers, then God will give us the words of rebuke. So what is Sunsteam saying here too is like, yeah, in the general situation, all the word that is needed has been given, right? All the secret words have been given. The 30 lessons, everything else, they have been given. However, Sunsteam's still living in this time right now, and there's words that God wants to say to us right now. If we are influenced from others, fight amongst our brothers, then the good word that should be delivered can't, because all we can get at that time is what we deserve, which is the words of rebuke. Right? And that's something we have to think about in our churches, in our everyday lives. The good words, right? The words that pertain to us that will fill us with joy should be delivered, but if we're fighting amongst each other, we're not united as one, this is where problems actually happen. So I hope that all of us, especially with the Wednesday message title says, you must discern what is not beneficial and not do them, right? Some things bring benefit in the future, even though they do not bring benefit now. And all of us should discern. That's a lot of discerning we have to do is some things are not beneficial, but they may be beneficial in the future. Some things are beneficial and not beneficial, and you should never do them, right? So we have to be able to discern properly, and this is what God was telling us at the end of the message. But very, very powerful Wednesday message. I really, really enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it too, especially with the 40 proverbs that were given also. If you have any other things that you want to say, just let me know too, or you want to add to. Okay, so there it is, guys. That is the end of today's Wednesday message word study. Hope you guys really enjoyed that. Before we get into Until the End, the video podcast with Daniel, let's get into the second break of the day.
Please don't let me down, Lord. I know I can trust you with all my heart. So I'm on my knees praying for you to always come through. Even if I pray all night, all I want is for your will be done. So I'm on my knees praying for you to always come through. No, I'm not slipping through. No, I'm not falling down. The only thing that's falling is my knees on the floor. I'm praying, Lord, will you give me strength? Lord, will you give me power? I can't do this myself, so bless me in the morning hours. All the demons test me, but they will never shake me. If I pray, they hit me. If I pray, you love me. Connected with you is the only thing that matters. And honestly, I couldn't be happier while I'm praying on my knees. I trust you with all my heart. For you always come through. For myself, for my family, for myself alone I pray. Please don't let me down, Lord. I know I can trust you with all my heart. So I'm on my knees praying for you to always come through. Even if I pray all night, all I want is for your will be done. So I'm on my knees praying for you to always come through.
I pray to never just settle for good when great is available. Who's the mastermind behind this mind? I give all the credit to God, that's why I'm back. They mad that I made it, I know that the Satans, they hate it. I keep working hard just to make progress. Now I'm on 10, trust the process, ayy. Look at my efforts lately, I'm setting conditions daily. I'm praying on my knees, so bless me. Please bless me, please bless me. Tribulations always come and go, I will never stop, just always know your focus determines reality, stay solid, that's why
I'm praying on my knees, I trust you with all my heart. For you to always come through. For myself, for my family, on myself alone I pray. Please don't let me down, Lord. I know I can trust you with all my heart. So I'm on my knees praying for you to always come through. Even if I pray all night, all I want is for your will be done. So I'm on my knees praying you to always come through.
SB.
Okay, so let's get into our final segment for today on this Friday and for the entire week. This is Until the End with Daniel Baker. I love it. He is challenging me, him and Eddie, with these video podcasts. I do have to start doing this pretty soon too, but that's going to be, it's going to be pretty hard on SoundCloud too. But either way, I hope that everyone enjoyed this. Please welcome, guys. This is Daniel Baker with Until the End.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Do It Until the End podcast. I hope everyone is having an amazing week. It is the weekly podcast segment so we can improve our mental health. And we've been going through the book Atomic Habits. Already read it through the whole thing, making really good notes on, like, this is what we're going to go through. And this is only like 25 to 30% of all the concepts in the book. I'm just writing them down so I can actually sort out the ideas and really package it well for so you guys can really understand. But before we go into how to create a habit and the different laws, I want to talk about a concept that a financial concept that I knew from the past. And I kind of thought through a content creator on Instagram. I was looking at a diary that he posted on Instagram, and I really was thinking that this financial concept, if we put it in our daily lives, if we use habits and put it in our daily lives, it really doesn't matter if we don't have any motivation. If it's a really good habit that can really improve our health, our mental health, our productivity, all different aspects of our life, through that habit we can really improve and succeed. And that financial concept is called DCA, dollar cost averaging. So in investing, it's very interesting that there's a lot of different ways to invest, right? So there's if you want to invest $1,200 or $2,400 a year, let's say you want to invest that much, then there's one investor that one investor would say, okay, I'm going to invest $2,400 right away, right? And according to the market or the different types of stocks he chooses, he might do well, he might do really bad. However, DCA, dollar cost averaging, is an investing concept where it says that you're investing the same amount of money, a fixed amount of money, at set intervals. So let's say you want to do $2,400 a year, as we said. Now we will invest $200 each month, right? At the end of each month, you'll say, okay, in these two companies or these three really solid companies, I'm going to invest $200 each month. It doesn't really matter how good the stock market is doing, or how good or how much motivation you have. Oh, this company is doing really well. Oh, I'm going to invest. You're not doing that. You're investing $200, a set amount at the end of each month. And Warren Buffett said that DCA, if you use DCA as a investment strategy, it's actually a better strategy than speculation, or even the people who are quote unquote investors that help you out with help manage your portfolio and those kind of stuff. So it's very important that we use DCA, dollar cost averaging, within our lives to constantly improve, right? So DCA is it's taking control of your habits and making sure that, you know, whatever happens within your life, if you have high motivation or less motivation, you can actually still improve, right? So we need to use DCA within our life so we can improve, which means creating better habits, right? So if you guys remember, there's 4 steps to creating a habit, right? Or there's 4 steps to a habit. The first step, or the first phase, is the cue phase, right? Is where you see the visual cue. And that cue sets off a chain reaction. It causes number 2, the second phase, the craving, right? And then the third one is a response. You know, your body responses and you do that action. And then through that action, you gain a reward, right? Okay, so the first law to create a habit is to make it obvious, right? Okay, so the first thing you guys can do is create something called a scorecard or a habit scorecard. So what you want to do is you want to write all your habits, right? Every habit you do within every single day, and you write them down on a piece of paper, right? It doesn't matter what kind of habit it is, a bad habit, negative habit, you just write down all your habits, right? Okay, so you start from, I'm going to wake up, okay? I wake up, make my bed. Then the next thing I do is I scroll on Instagram. Next, I go into the shower, clean up, and you keep on writing the different types of habits you have, right? And then what you want to do is you want to make your list. Then you want to look at each behavior and deeply ask yourself if that habit is good, bad, or neutral habit, right? So the goal for the habit scorecard is to write down your current habits and make it aware, right? So the first law is to make it obvious. So you want to be aware of what kind of habits you currently have to either improve or cut it down, right? Okay, so the second way to make it obvious, the second thing you can use is something called implementation intentions, okay? This is simply put a plan that you will make beforehand. Let's say you have a habit and you really want to improve on it and you want to do it. You'll make a plan beforehand about when and where to act. So it is simply, I will do this behavior at this time in location, right? So if I want to start going to the gym, you want to be very specific with this, okay? So I will go to the gym and work out at 2 p.m., okay? In the Jinsan working out or the Jinsan gym, right? You want to be very specific, and you either want to write it down, either say it out loud, and you don't want it to be just in like the thinking phase, right? You want it to be actual either words or you want to write it down so you can make sure that it becomes a habit, right? Okay, so that was implementation intentions. The third thing you can use to make it more obvious is to use something called habit stacking. Now, habit stacking is very interesting because you kind of have to realize that no habit or no action, not even a habit, no action happens in isolation, right? So you kind of have to understand that a behavior influences a different behavior, right? So let's say you're on the phone, you're on your favorite shopping app. It can be Amazon if Korean, it can be Coupang, Temu. You're going down and you want to buy a specific thing, right? Let's say you want to buy a TV, right? Oh, I'm going to buy a TV. But you realize in the suggestion that, there's a remote. I'm going to get a remote and some speakers with it so I can listen to it really well, right? So through that behavior of simply going to get a TV, you buy other things. That behavior of simply going to look and find a TV causes you to spend a big amount on other things like the speaker, like the remote. So no behavior happens in isolation, right? So what we can use this in a way to stack our habits, right? So if you remember, there's the 4 phases, right? The cue, craving, response, and reward. What we want to do is stack our habits in a way that the reward of one habit will be the cue of the next habit. What that means is, let's say I'm going to have the perfect morning ritual, right? Okay, my bed's over here, right? So I have my bed, and that bed I'm going to fold up. And I'm going to fold up my bed, make it very clean first thing in the morning, right? And what is the reward from that? The reward simply that there's going to be that satisfaction, right? Oh, I got the first thing done. And that is going to be the cue for the next habit, which is go get a drink, right? Because you've been sleeping for more than 8 hours, right? You're probably very dehydrated, right? So it's very good to get a glass of water. So that satisfaction, it will cause, you want to relate that reward to be the cue for the next habit. And then you go get the water, you drink, and you drink that water, and then now you feel hydrated, you feel nice. And that reward will cause the next habit. So the reward from the original habit will become the cue for the new habit, right? So the format is, after I make my bed, I will do the new habit. I will go get a drink of water, right? Because I'm very dehydrated. Okay, so the last thing you can do, the 4th thing you can do to make a new habit very obvious is to design your environment. So make the cues you have in your house very obvious and very visible, right? There's a very easy way to explain this to you, right? If you want to get healthy and if you want to eat your daily supplements, right? There's the vitamin, right? The multivitamin. There's creatine. There's even like vitamin C. I have something called L-theanine, something like that. So if you want to make sure that you really take these vitamins every single day, will you have a better chance of taking those vitamins if they're in a cupboard or right in front on the kitchen counter? Of course, you're going to have a better chance to take those vitamins if they're inside of your face, right? If every time you go to make something for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and you see your supplements, you're going to be like, I gotta take my supplements, right? So it is very important to create and design your environment, right? So to make a new habit, if you want to like make a habit of making sure that you have like a skincare routine, what you can do is either have your skincare routine, the bottles, in a place where it's very visible, or you can put it right next to like on your sink, right? So right after you wash your face, right after you take a shower, you can just do it right there, and then you're done, right? You're on to the next habit. And it's interesting, your habits change according to your surroundings. If your room is very messy, there's a lot of things that catches your eye, your habits will be very scattered, right? You want your habits to be very ordered. Every single day you do the same habits. So it's very important to design your habits. So to design your habits and for the last concept of today, I'm going to talk about a concept and a habit that I've been doing that has massive results on how I look at my environment. So I've been doing a habit that's called environment reset, right? So whenever I'm in my environment and I really want to go on to the next thing, I either have to go to work or something like that, I'll take a minute to reset my environment, which means that if there's any trash in my room, outside. If there's any dishes in my room, outside. And I will do the dishes right away, right? So your environment has a lot of cues, right? And those cues triggers habits, right? If you have, if you don't want a particular bad habit to happen, change the cues, change your environment, okay? So that's something that I've been super happy with, right? I've been able to change my environment and make sure that my environment is clean every single day through habit reset. And that's something that I really recommend. So the first law of creating a new habit was make it obvious, right? And I gave you the 4 different ways you can make a habit very obvious so you can do the habit very consistently. So the 4, you can rewind and make sure you really understood it. It's already 15 minutes into this podcast segment, so I should wrap it up. And, I really want to say, I hope you guys have a really amazing rest of the week with the Trinity. Amazing messages, amazing different word that pretty much daily Sin's name is giving to us. So I really want to recommend that everyone really focus on making a new habit on, understanding the word, doing some typing the word. It really helped me too. So I hope everyone is having an amazing rest of the week with the Lord. And to everyone who is improving their mental health to become one with the Lord, let's walk this path together. Peace out, guys. Bye-bye.
And thank you so much, Daniel, for another wonderful episode of Until the End. If you have any comments or questions, go ahead, put them in the comments below. He would love to hear what you guys think about his segment. Also, everyone, it is the 4th week. We have just a couple of days left of January. Hope you guys really enjoy your weekend. Enjoy it to the fullest. Revive, recharge, receive a ton of grace from the Sunday message. And we'll see you guys again back on Monday on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and feel your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, I'm on the Morning Star Drive, I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, I'm on the Morning Star Drive,